Hey everyone, this is Brian from Provision Studios, and today I want to make a video about analog summing through an analog board. Some of the methods I have shown in the past have been using stems or sending an entire mix or 2-track through a board for summing. This video, I'm going to send an entire session track by track through, and this isn't a method that I normally use, but it's one I want to show because it's different than anything I've showed before. And I picked this method up from Yoad Nevo, who is a famous mixer. He's worked with Pet Shop Boys and artists like that through the years. He's also famous working with Waves. He has several plugins that he's helped develop with Waves, several that I do use. One of them today that you'll see is the NLS, the Nonlinear Summer, that he helped develop. It actually has a model of his Neve console in his studio that is actually modeled into this plugin. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little intro to this video so you guys knew what I was trying to do here. This is a method again that I don't normally employ, but I watched the master class with Yoad recently and was so intrigued with what he was showing. I wanted to share it with you guys and show you guys another way to work outside of what I normally show. Again, I want people to understand there's more than one way to mix. There's not any real one way to say, if you want to get a great mix, you have to do it like this. As a matter of fact, I would say if that's your thinking, then you're already defeated. You should be understanding that the more flexible you are in your ability to work in a studio, the better you can be at it, because there's no one way that's going to work every time. There's always a style of music. There is a method of the way something was recorded. There may be a certain effect you're going for that if you do it, if you only know one way to do it, you've limited yourself to the sort of the ways that you can produce things. So this is a method that I want to show you guys, and I'll be back here at the end of the video to close it out. All right, let's dive in and see what we can get going here. All right, so here we are inside of Pro Tools. I have a song that I wrote a couple years ago. And the reason why I'm using it today, because it's a large session, or a larger session than what I normally would encounter with what I record here in the studio with bands. This has got a more elaborate arrangement, multiple guitars, multiple percussion, choir. This is a larger orchestral piece. It's going to start it from the top, give you guys an idea of what we're doing, and all of this stuff right now. All these tracks are you can see there's hardly any plugins on there other than the virtual instruments, and everything's running into a submix, and then that's it. There's really no processing. So here's the song. And then later on down here, let's see, then the drums come in right here. and so on and so forth. Anyway, so all right, the idea of Yoad Nevo's analog summing through his console is because he has a Neve console that, as a matter of fact, um, he has a Neve 5116 console. So it's a great console. He's done some unbelievably successful mixes on that console. So it makes sense that he would do his mix, even if it's in the box. And then when he's done, he runs these tracks through his board. How I normally do that is I will mix in the box, and then I will get my stems, and I will stem out in stereo pairs. Like on tracks 1 and 2 will be my drums, tracks 3 and 4 will be my basses, lower instruments, 5 and 6 would be my guitars, 7 and 8 would probably be my lead guitars, 9 and 10 would be my synths, 11 and 12 would be my vocals, maybe even 13 and 14 would be my effects, depending on how the song was mixed. That's basically how I do it. When I watched his master class, it was very interesting. What he did is where he takes his session and then he routes each track through his board in just track sequence. So I can show it better than I can explain it. On my board, I'm just going to use tracks 1 through 12 in stereo pairs. So I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12, each as a stereo pair. So first track will go 1, 2, second track will go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm going to stop at 11, 12. Stop at 11, 12. Then I'm going to start over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And again, stop, and then with the next track, you would start over again at 1, 2. That track is muted, so I'm going to ignore that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again, stopping at 11, 12. Now, on his board, he had 42 channels. So he was able to go up much higher before he had to start over again. So he wasn't sending as many tracks to each stereo pair as I have to, because I don't have a 42 channel board. I've got a 22 channel board. All right, so I'm starting over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again, stopping there and then starting over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and then you would stop there. You don't send your submix through here. All right. Then what you would do is on all the tracks you just sent, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to select them all. I'm going to on the send, I'm going to send them all to the submix. With Unity Gain. So I'll be able to give you the board mix it's summed through the console, and I'll be able to give you the in the box mix, A, B, and back and forth. All right. So anyway, the idea is you got your stereo pairs. Let's do it like this. I'll introduce each one as it comes through the board. All right, there we go. All of the EQs are set flat. All I'm doing is analog summing. I'm sending all the digital tracks through the console to get that circuitry that is not in the software. It only can be imparted onto my audio tracks by running each audio signal through my board. Again, because I'm limited to the tracks that I have here, I'm having to start over sooner than what was on this other video that I watched. I could use 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, but I've got my mic in one, and then these are stereo. I don't want to get into all that, so I just figured it would just be a great way to show you guys that are at home. You may not even have 12 tracks. You can still do it. Even if you've only got 4 tracks available to you, you can ping pong, you can bounce back and forth between 1, 2, 3, 4 and send your mix out that way. Normally the way I work is I would take all of my like instruments, like all my acoustics, I would put them on 4 and 5. All my synth instruments would go on a stereo pair. All of my bass instruments would go on and I would do it that way, sort of in stems. This is another way to work, and I just thought it bared showing you guys that method. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bounce back and forth between the board mix and the in the box mix. Matter of fact, I'm going to start off with in the box. All right, here is the mix through the console. Board mix. I'm sorry, in the box. Board mix. In the box. Console. In the box. Console. In the box. Console once again.
in the box. Console. All right, there you go. That is really night and day. I mean, you really can't compare the two. The openness, the depth, the sheen, the polish, the punch, everything is there when it's summed through the when you run the tracks through the board to get that to get that analog warmth on it. It almost sounds like there is a blanket over top of the mix in the box. And again, before I did this in the box, it sounded good to me. I was like, oh man, cool. I got a good starting point. Running it through the board like this, and again, I'm not doing anything. EQs are flat. Everything's set at unity. There's no boosting. There's nothing that's being done on the console other than running audio through it. So it really is. Again, I'm not trying to say that you have to go out and get an analog console. I'm just trying to show you guys the pros and cons to analog, working on analog gear. There's been a question that was asked of me recently about recalling mixes through your analog console. Okay, if you were to use Yoad Nevo's method of analog summing, which is basically you're doing all your mixing in the box, and at the very end you're just passing audio through. You're really not mixing on the console, you're just using this as a summing engine. Then you would not need Studio Recall. You would not need to know where all your EQs are. Now, that may sound like a waste of a lot of really good Sapphire asymmetric EQing, and it is. I mean, this is an awesome EQ that's on this board, and I'm not really utilizing that right now. But the point is this, is that if that is a reason why you wouldn't buy this board, this is a way you could use this board and get a great quality get that Soundcraft analog sound without having to go and recall your sessions every time. You can get this board calibrated properly to where each track is giving you the same thing, the same level running through it. And basically, you do your mixing in the box, put your EQs, your compressions, everything you want in your mix on the tracks, and then you just pass those through like the way I set it up right here. And if you don't like this method, you don't think it makes any sense to you, I can understand that. When I first saw the video, I was like, well, I don't know if that'll work. Then when I came into the studio and I actually did it this way, I was like, wow, that really does open up the mix. I can hear the difference. And I don't have to do a lot of EQing on the board. I'm actually able to get straight to printing a stereo sum. Again, the other way I would do it is I would use my like tracks and I would send them all to stereo pairs, and then I would do some EQing. Right now, I wouldn't really want an EQ because I've got multiple tracks going into a stereo pair that aren't like instruments. So an EQ curve that I may put on the low end to benefit my kick may boost the low end on my clarinet, which I don't want, or whatever else I had sent there. Let's see, 1, 2. So I got my cathedral right here. That might not be bad, but I'm sure at some point there's an instance where I've got yes, so my strings. I got staccato strings also going through stereo pair 1, 2, which wouldn't necessarily be something I would want to boost the low end on. So I hope this makes sense. Again, I'm not trying to say that this is how you have to work. I have made videos in the past where I've showed how to analog sum through stems, sending a whole session through the board. So this is like a third way that you can analog sum. I did want to show you guys one more thing. And I'm not showing you this to make you go out and want to buy the plugin. I just wanted to show the plugin that would allow you to sort of do this in the box. This is the NLS plugin by Waves. This is modeled off of Yoad Nevo's Neve board. This also has an SSL on it. Would be this one, and I think, what does Mike Lowell got? Mike uses the EMI TGI 12345. He has a Mark IV, and Spike's got the 4000G SSL. So anyway, you've got 3 different consoles that you could use, and at that point, you could mix through. If you didn't have an analog console, you could go out and purchase the NLS channel from Waves, and you could use this as your analog summer. Obviously, you're in the box, but you can still analog sum with, with a modeled console. Steven Slate has a very similar product that he uses through Slate Digital, so you could look that route if you're into that kind of thing, or you could stay completely in the box and not worry about anything like this. This does not have to be done. This does not make your mixes any better. This is just a taste thing. If you're looking for a certain style or certain taste to your mix, this would be something that you might consider implementing into your next session.
All right, so that's basically an analog sum through a console. Let me know if you guys have any question or comments in the comment section below this video. You can email me, bbuck822@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, provisionstudios.com. You can click on the contact tab, and a form will come up that you can actually fill out, and I'll get a message letting me know that you've sent me a message, and I can communicate with you that way. Either way, I just want you to know that I'm looking to help out any way I can. If there's something you saw here today that you don't understand, or there's something you saw here today that you want further explanation on, reach out to me. I will certainly get back to you as soon as I can. Until then, I'll talk to you guys, and you have a great day. Bye-bye now.